Her hands were still stained with rope burns when she stumbled into his cabin. He bolted the door, loaded his rifle. Outside, the bandits circled like coyotes, hungry, laughing, patient. She didn't speak, just watched the window, just listened. Then the drumming started. Not gunfire, not hooves, drums, low, steady, getting closer. He stepped outside, thinking it was the bandits again. It wasn't. Across the ridge stood the entire war party, spears raised, faces painted in judgment. They had not come to thank him. They had come to decide what he would pay for hiding one of their own. And she did not move to stop them. The bolt dropped. Wood met wood. Silence followed. He stood with his back against the door, chest rising, slower now, rifle in his grip. Sweat darkened the collar of his shirt. She didn't move. Still covered in ash and blood, she stood in the middle of his floor like something carved from stone. Bare feet, hollow eyes, hands loose by her sides, not afraid, not grateful, not anything. He gestured toward the back room. Nothing in her face changed. A flicker of movement at the window. He turned fast, just the wind kicking up dust. But they were out there, watching. He stepped away from the door, pulled the chair closer to the wall, propped the rifle in his lap. She sat cross-legged on the floor, facing nothing, speaking nothing. Her shoulders slumped forward like someone unstrung. A long minute passed, then another. The fire in the stove crackled but gave little heat. The desert stayed dry and still outside. But something about it felt louder now, like the quiet was full of things that could not be named. His hand tightened on the rifle. Every instinct told him to push her out. Let them take her. Let it be done. He had done worse before. Looked away when it was easier, took orders, rode hard without asking why. This time he hadn't. And now, the circle waited. He glanced back at her. No change. He tried to remember the last time he saw someone that empty. Maybe it had been a child. Or maybe it had been his own reflection, after the raid near the canyon pass. She wasn't crying. That somehow made it worse. He leaned his head against the wall, closed his eyes, tried to find a name for what he had just done. There was no answer. The rifle slid from his lap. He set it down, stood, walked to the door and put his hand on the latch. A dry breath pulled into his lungs, held, then released. He unbolted it, opened it slow. The wind shifted. They were still there. Dozens, maybe more. Spears raised, faces unreadable in the golden light. No one stepped forward. No one called out. Only the eyes moved. Watching him. Watching her. Waiting. He stood in the doorway, arms loose at his sides. The heat from the sun prickled his skin. Behind him, the sound of her breath barely rose above the silence. His boots stayed planted. The threshold did not feel like safety anymore. It felt like judgment. Like the edge of a question he could not unask. And still, she did not speak. He stepped forward. Not fast, not slow, no rifle, no hat. Just boots dragging across the sand and a heartbeat that sounded like hoofbeats behind his ribs. The war party made no sound, no gesture, no movement except the slow widening of their circle. They let him walk in. She stayed behind, still inside the cabin, still watching. The ground felt wrong beneath his feet. Not softer, not harder, just heavier somehow. Then they closed it, the circle. He turned. Every man stood tall, spears upright, faces calm but hard. Shadows stretched long behind them in the evening light. No signal was given. Still the elder stepped forward, old bones under red cloth, hair braided tight, chest bare except for one mark above the heart, a handprint drawn in ochre. The elder stopped, looked once at the cowboy, looked again at the doorway where she stood. Then he bent, placed something in the dust, long and narrow. Not wood. Bone, smoothed at the edges. A single red band painted near the tip. The elder stepped back. No words, no nod, nothing but the shape left behind. The cowboy stared at it. No meaning rose up to meet him, just the pressure of their eyes. Then she moved. Her feet brushed the doorway. She came out slow, each step barefoot, each step careful, as if the circle itself might burn. No one stopped her. No one welcomed her. She stopped beside him. Her voice broke the stillness, not loud, not soft, just enough to be heard by every man there. She named what the bandits had done, where they caught her, what she lost, how many bodies had been left for the crows. She did not cry. She named the town she escaped from, the men who turned away, the faces that laughed. She pointed to her own wrist, the skin still raw. Then she looked at the cowboy. No praise in her face, no trust, only a fact. He did not turn away. He did not sell her back. She looked to the elder, then back to the cowboy. Her next words were slow. She named the fort where she last saw men in blue. She said she remembered the sound of the rifles, the smell after the horses passed, the screams behind the rocks. Then she said his name. It hung there. One word. No louder than breath. The elder's eyes moved. So did others. He did not flinch, did not speak, just stood as the weight shifted, as the silence bent. And somewhere in that bend, the question became his, not hers. What he was, what he had done, what he would pay. She did not raise her voice. She did not rush. Each word came slow and stripped of softness. She spoke of the first man who grabbed her, the way his hands shook with want and fear, the way he laughed when she bit him. She spoke of the second who struck her when she fell. She named the canyon where they dragged her people from the brush, the creek where the water turned dark, the place where the oldest among them were left behind because they could not run. She counted the dead without numbers, only with breath. The cowboy did not look away. Her eyes never left the circle as she spoke, not even when the memories scraped through her voice, not even when the dust shifted under her feet. She said the bandits were not alone in what they did. She said settlers had come before them, with papers, with fences, with rifles carried like law. She spoke of children taken for labor, of women traded for food, of elders beaten for land they could not abandon. Her hand lifted and swept the horizon, slow and wide. She said they came with smiles first, then with hunger, then with fire. The cowboy felt every word settle into the heat on his skin. The war party did not move. They listened, not for blood, for meaning. Her voice cracked once, only once, when she spoke of her sister, when she spoke of the bones left in the creek bed after the water fell. She did not speak his past aloud, not yet. But she let the space where it lived grow heavy. The air pressed in. The bone marker lay untouched in the dust. The cowboy felt the pull of it as if it were tied to his boots. He remembered faces that looked like hers, remembered how easily orders could wash shape from people, remembered how silence after a shot always sounded like permission. He said nothing. He did not bow. He did not stand taller. He stood exactly as he was while her words gathered around him. The elder watched him through narrowed eyes, not with rage, with weighing. When her voice finally fell quiet, the circle remained closed. No one spoke, no spear lifted. The accusation did not end with her last word. It waited, in his breath, in the dust, in the red band painted on the bone at his feet. The price had not yet been named, but it had been made clear to him. This was not about the woman alone. This was about what kind of man he truly was when no uniform guarded him, when no rifle stood between him and the truth, and whether shelter could ever be enough to balance blood. The sun beat down, the silence held, and the judgment did not yet fall. The dust shifted under his boots, the circle still held, silent, unbroken. He drew breath, not deep, not steady, just enough to speak. His voice came low, flat as dry stone. He said he had worn a coat once, blue, brass buttons, polished buckle, issued rifle. He said he had ridden with others, 30 strong, maybe more, orders loud, eyes sharper than steel. He said he had followed without knowing, and then followed knowing too much. He did not name the places, but he remembered the screams behind cedar trees, the bodies left face down in the sage, the fires set behind them as they rode. He said nothing made it right. He said he never buried the dead, just left them to the sun. His hands stayed open at his sides. He looked straight ahead, not at the woman, not at the elder, just forward into the circle. He said letting her die would have been easy. He said men like him had done it before, had stood still while the worst happened, had laughed while it did, but he hadn't. Not this time. That was all he gave them, the truth and the edge of it. The words hung in the heat. For a moment it felt as if the desert itself held its breath. Then a cry broke from the right, young and sharp. A warrior lunged from the edge of the line. Long legs, braided hair, chest painted red. His knife flashed in the sun. The cowboy did not flinch. He stood where he was, eyes fixed, arms still open. But before the blade could reach him, the elder moved. No shout, no sound, only a single raised hand. The young warrior stopped mid-step, breathing hard, chest heaving. His eyes locked on the cowboy with something deeper than rage. The elder turned to him, said nothing, held that gaze, and slowly the blade dropped. The young one stepped back into the circle, silence again. Except now the wind had teeth. It slid across their skin like memory. The cowboy stood alone in the middle, not bound, not guarded, not forgiven. The woman lowered her eyes. The elder watched. The rest waited. No one spoke. Not because there was nothing left to say, but because now the question was no longer whether he had sinned. That part had been answered. Now came the part no man could escape. Whether he understood what it cost, and whether he would carry that weight when the circle broke. Night came with no sound. The last of the sun sank behind the ridge and left the land in the soft color of cooling stone. The circle did not break all at once, only in parts. Men stepped back first, then women, then the elder last of all. No signal, just a slow pulling away like water drawn back into the earth. The fire came next. They lit it near the cabin. Not for warmth, for witness. Rocks circled it. Dry branches snapped and spit tiny sparks. The orange glow spilled across their faces but gave no welcome. The cowboy sat alone, 20 paces from the fire. His knees bent, arms across them, back pressed to a cedar post at the edge of his porch. They did not bind him. They did not speak to him. But they made no room. The woman sat near the elder, her shoulders wrapped in dark cloth, her knees drawn up tight, her eyes fixed on the flames. He watched her. She did not look back. The others formed a loose half-ring, not relaxed, not at ease, just still, like stone shaped into shape by years of wind and loss. Voices began, low at first, not angry, not urgent. The language bent and rose in patterns he could not follow. Sounds like birds moving through dry leaves, like water hitting stone. He did not try to understand. He stayed where he was, cold seeping into his legs, mouth dry, muscles locked from stillness. The fire burned bright. The voices carried. He wondered what they called this, if it had a name, if it had happened before. He tried to see her face again, but she had turned. The light only caught the edge of her cheek, the side of her hair. Nothing more. Time passed. He counted it by the way the stars climbed higher. By the way the smoke thinned. No one approached him. No one fed the fire with new wood. Still it burned. His arms ached. His back stiffened. He shifted slightly, winced at the sound of his own movement. No one looked. The sky deepened. The colors drained until all that remained was the glow on their faces and the black stretch above. He thought again about the rifle inside. He thought about walking back through the door, about closing it. But he did not move. Then she looked at him. Only once. Not long. No signal in her eyes, no softness, no fire, just the fact of her seeing. Then she turned again. The elder said something quiet. She answered without pause. The cowboy lowered his head. He had nothing left to give them, no defense, no plea. Only this, the waiting, the fire, the silence where a verdict might one day land, and the eyes that might never look his way again. The fire had died to ash by the time the sun returned. Pale light cut the edge of the horizon. Slow, unhurried, unforgiving. The tribe gathered again. No signal, no horn, no call. Just footsteps on dry earth and the shape of bodies forming in silence. The cowboy woke where he had sat, cold in his joints, sweat dried to salt along his collar. They motioned once. He stood, not proud, not stiff, just steady. His boots left prints behind him as he walked toward the open space. The circle formed again, this time smaller, tighter. No weapons lifted, no words spoken. A stick was dragged through the dirt, a wide circle drawn by hand, one line, one loop, unbroken. The cowboy stepped inside without being told. The elder approached. He held nothing in his hands, no token, no tool, just presence. He looked long at the cowboy, then he spoke, the voice low, final. The woman stood behind him, eyes fixed, shoulders square. A younger man translated. The choice was laid down. He would be exiled if he chose it. No blade would fall, no spear would chase him, but he would carry his name and shame wherever he went. The land would not hold him again, or he could remain. Not free, not forgiven, but marked. To stay meant trial, not of fire, not of blood, but of silence, of endurance, of stillness that burned through flesh like flame. The cowboy looked to the woman. She did not speak. He looked to the elder. There was no offer in that face, only the weight of history made solid. He thought of the town west of the ridge, of the path that led there, of the faces that would welcome him back without asking what he had done. He thought of the woman left beaten and bound. He thought of the boy with the rifle years ago who had not yet learned to question orders. He said he would stay. The wind moved once through the camp, quick and dry. The elder gave no nod, no sign of approval. He turned. The others stepped back. The circle remained. The cowboy looked down at the line in the dust. His boots were inside it now. He did not ask what would come. He knew. This would not be a trial of proving strength. This would be a trial of whether a man could live inside his own silence and carry the eyes of the judged without turning away. He knelt. The ground beneath him was packed hard. Not sand, not soil. Stone warmed by centuries of sun. His knees pressed into it without cushion. His hands rested palm up on his thighs, his spine straight, his eyes forward. The tribe formed a wide ring around him. They did not speak. They did not sit. They did not blink often. Their silence held him like a cage with no bars. The sun climbed. Its light touched the top of his shoulders, then his neck, then the top of his head. Still he did not move. The heat thickened, his breath shortened, his skin itched and pulled tight where sweat dried too fast to cool him. Time folded. He counted it first by the movement of shadows, then by the sting behind his eyes, then by the crackle inside his joints. His mouth dried, his tongue grew thick. No water was offered, no gesture of mercy came. The silence stayed. He saw her then, on the edge, not close, not far. She stood with her arms folded across her chest, her face unreadable. She did not speak. He closed his eyes once, too long. A sound rose behind them. Boots, dozens, kicking up gravel in rhythm. He opened his eyes. The desert did not change, but the sounds did. Now it was shouting. Now it was orders barked across valleys. Now it was a name he had not heard in years. He blinked hard. A face appeared. A boy, 14 maybe, holding a rifle too large for his shoulders. The boy grinned. Another blink. Smoke now, black and rising. Screams cut short. A woman clutching a child that did not cry anymore. He shook his head, slow. Barely a movement. The heat deepened. The voices stayed. He tried to fix on her face again, but it swam, doubled, then disappeared. He heard a laugh then, his own, years ago, around a campfire after a raid. He remembered the tin cup in his hand, the way the light hit the buckle at his waist. He had told himself it was duty. Now it sounded like cruelty dressed in rules. His breath caught, his lips cracked. He did not fall. The circle held. The tribe did not move. A hawk cried far above. The sound sharp, cold, distant. His legs began to tremble. Not from pain, from something deeper. A trembling that came from seeing the shape of his own past and realizing it had never left his body, only hidden, only waited. He opened his eyes again. She was still watching, but she did not come forward. She did not look away. The trial was not for her to interrupt. It was his to survive, or not. He knelt as the sun passed noon, as his shadow shrank, as the weight of all he had done gathered like stones in his blood, and he stayed. The light had shifted again. Long shadows returned, not cool yet, but slanted, soft at the edges. The tribe remained. No one had spoken since the sun stood above them. The cowboy still knelt. His skin was dark with sweat, his lips split, his eyes swollen from the glare. He did not move. A breeze passed once through the circle, lifted dust, rolled it gently across his boots. Then the elder stood. No word, no sign. He walked alone to the center of the circle, each step firm, slow, steady. He stopped beside the line drawn in the dirt. The cowboy did not lift his head. The elder looked down, not with anger, not with pity, with finality. He bent, lifted the bone marker from where it had been placed that morning. He held it for a moment in both hands, then turned. He walked it to her. She sat now, not far. The elder placed it at her feet. No words passed between them. He stepped back. She remained still. Then she rose, straightened her shoulders, stepped across the dust toward the man still kneeling in silence. Her feet left soft prints. Her shadow grew taller with each step. She stopped before him. He looked up. Their eyes met. No one around them spoke. No one moved. She reached slowly to her hair, undid a braid that had held through wind and trial and silence. Her fingers moved with care. From within the braid, she pulled one long feather, black at the base, faded copper near the tip, slightly frayed at the end. She knelt, not low, just enough. She placed the feather in the dirt beside him, not touching him, not offered, just there. The space between them filled with what had not been said. Then she stood, turned, walked back the way she came. The tribe watched her, then turned as well. One by one they stepped away. No chant, no cry, no sound of triumph or grief, only the soft shuffling of feet in dust. No one touched the cowboy, no one called to him. They did not look back. They left him there, inside the circle, with the line around him, with the marker gone, with the feather beside him. The sun slipped lower. The wind carried heat across the plain. The silence did not break, but it no longer pressed. It lingered. He sat back from his knees, slowly, stiffly. His body shook. He reached toward the feather, stopped just short of touching it. He stared. Not at the feather, not at the place where she had stood, but at the earth between them, and the meaning laid there with no words to hold it. The sun sank low. Its light pulled long shadows across the yard, across the edge of the circle, across the man still kneeling in the dirt. He did not move. His knees throbbed, his shoulders ached, his lips were cracked white at the corners. But he stayed. The others were gone now. The sound of their movement had long faded into the vastness. Only the wind remained, soft, dry, restless. She walked back toward the cabin. No pause, no backward glance. She crossed the same ground where judgment had stood, past the spot where the feather still lay untouched. Reached the cabin door and stepped inside. It closed behind her. The cowboy stayed kneeling. A crow called once in the distance. Light drained from the world inch by inch. The line drawn in the dirt around him faded as shadows grew deeper. The circle became memory. The sky turned to ash. Still he did not rise. He did not yet know what the feather meant. Forgiveness. Warning. Invitation. He knew only that it was hers to give, and it had been given. When night came, he moved, slow. First one knee, then the other. His back stiff, his legs numb, hands trembling as he leaned forward for balance. He stood. Not tall, not proud, just steady enough to walk. He left the feather where it was. The wind would take it. He crossed the yard. The door gave quietly. Inside, the air held warmth. A fire burned low in the corner. Shadows flickered along the log walls. She sat near it, cross-legged, wrapped in her blanket. She did not turn. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. His boots left faint prints on the floor. She reached once to the edge of the hearth, lifted a small bowl filled with water, placed it gently near the fire without a word, then sat back. He lowered himself to the opposite side of the room, not too close. He picked up the bowl. His hands shook as he drank. The water tasted of wood, of earth, of silence. When he finished, he set it down. The firelight shifted across her face. His eyes met hers only once. No meaning passed between them, no gesture, no nod, only the fact of breath, of bodies still living in a place where they could have died. Two survivors. No peace between them yet, but no war either. He leaned against the wall. She turned back to the fire. Outside, the wind passed through the dry brush. Inside, neither spoke. There were no names given, no debts named, no futures claimed, only the choice to remain in the same room, to share silence, and to let the night come without fear. The heat had returned, dry and steady, the kind that cracked wood and kept the snakes close to shade. The cabin still stood, but it no longer looked the same. The front walls bore new markings, lines and circles painted with care, red dust and charcoal pressed into pattern, symbols that did not belong to settlers. They marked no ownership, only presence. Half Apache now. The roof had been repaired with branches from the canyon, woven tighter. The old fence had been cleared away. No livestock remained. Just silence. Just choice. The cowboy crouched near the front post. He held a knife, not a weapon, just a tool with use in the handle. His hand moved slow, careful. Each stroke cut into the wood with purpose. He had no map, no drawing to follow, only memory. A circle, notched and even. Inside it, a feather. Not straight, not perfect. Curved like it had fallen, not flown. He wiped the dust with his palm, the war. Carving caught the light. Behind him, footsteps passed across the yard. Light, measured, barefoot. She walked by with a basket in her arms, full of cloth, dried roots, empty space. She did not stop. He did not turn. The moment held nothing dramatic, no sound, no nod, no break in motion. Only the space they shared, the lives not spoken. The past still held without fear. Above the doorway, a single feather hung by a strip of rawhide. It shifted in the breeze, lifted, spun. Not high, not wild, just enough to catch the light, just enough to remind. The wind passed through the stones around the house, picked up dust, moved on. He stood, looked once at the carving, then stepped back. The blade went into his pocket. The sun marked a path across his back. He looked to the horizon. Nothing there. Just land and light, and time. The basket disappeared inside the doorway. The feather above it turned one final time, then stilled. There was no peace to name, no end to what had come before. Only a shape left in wood, a symbol without words, and the silence of two lives no longer apart. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and comment on the Old Western Tales.